As Zimbabwean elections approach, opposition parties are struggling on the ground with the police disrupting rallies. Some of the Citizens Coalition for Change's political gatherings have been affected. The party plans to launch its election manifesto on Sunday. Earlier on, though, we spoke to the spokesperson for the SABC, Fadzayi Mahere, who accused Zanu PF and authorities in Zimbabwe of sabotaging the party's campaigns before the elections. For reaction on these accusations, we now speak to Zanu PF spokesperson in South Africa, Kennedy Mandaza, but he's joining us from Zimbabwe this morning. Kennedy, good morning, and thank you so much for making time for us. So earlier on when we spoke to Fadzayi, she basically argued that it is Zanu PF who is behind all of these disruptions to their election campaign. What's your reaction to that?
Good morning. Firstly, let me correct. I'm no longer the Zanu PF spokesperson in South Africa. I'm now resident in Zimbabwe. I'm just a Zanu PF official. But however, let me put it clear that Fadzayi Mahere is missing the point, because Zanu PF does not interfere in the work of the police, and it has nothing to do with the way in which rallies are approved, because as a party we also go through the same process of making sure that any gathering that we intend to have is approved by the police. So when Fadzayi Mahere and any other member of the SABC says that Zanu PF is interfering with their work, it is not true. It is neither here nor there, because it is Zanu PF through President Mnangagwa who has said that everyone should be free to campaign and the campaign should be violence-free.
So I asked earlier on as well about the Maintenance of Peace Act and the basis on which also the police have said that they didn't make the submission within time, the 7 days before the event is supposed to take place. The police say they made the submission on the 6th of July, and we know the event is supposed to take place tomorrow, so it doesn't fall in within the 7 days. She argues that it's not true, actually, that they did make the submission ahead of time. So if that is the case, does it mean that if the police does act unlawfully, that it does give the suspicion, though, that they are acting in the interest of Zanu PF?
That's a wrong conclusion to start with. To say that when the police do what they are supposed to do, they are doing it in favor of Zanu PF. The police have a role that they are supposed to play, and we leave it to them to do their work. And for Fadzayi then to say that they submitted earlier than the 6th, then it is within their purview to go back to the police and argue their case with the police to say we submitted it on this particular day. It is just been I think they're coming to the press to make allegations, yet they know very well where they are supposed to go. The police are there to maintain law and order and to ensure that our campaigns that we are currently going through, they are peaceful, and it is in the interest of SABC and any other contesting party to make sure that they heed to what the police would have said, because they are responsible. And if they have any complaints, they should know. Fadzayi Mahere is a lawyer. Advocate Nelson Chamisa is a lawyer. They should know where exactly they need to go in order to make sure that they get a redress, rather than to go through megaphone kind of complaining, which does not yield anything at all.
Yeah, and another issue is also, and I don't know whether you do know about this particular story, Kennedy, and that is that the former Deputy Information Minister of Energy, Mutodi, was accused of firing at SABC supporters. And the accusation also is that at the time that he was with the members who are known as the FAZ, who are people who also work quite closely with intelligence. Do you know about this incident?
Yes, I do know about the allegations. I've heard and read about them. And I've also seen a clip in which Comrade Energy Mutodi was explaining the circumstances of what had happened at the place. And I also saw another clip in which the vehicles that were being driven by people who were with Comrade Energy Mutodi were being stoned and being chased away. by CCC members. But I'm not aware, though, whether they were with the FAS people, and we are yet to hear the actual circumstances surrounding what exactly transpired at the place. We hear there were gunshots which were fired. We hear that cars were stoned of the which were accompanying Comrade Energy Mutodi. So it is the duty now of the police to make sure that they attend to these issues, because it is very clear from Zanu PF's perspective as given by Comrade Emerson Mnangagwa, the president of Zanu PF, that we want these elections to be free from violence, and anybody therefore who is found wanting in that regard should then be brought to book.
Yeah, well, will the party do its own internal investigation as well? And also, with that said, as I pointed out to Advocate Fadzayi a bit earlier on, is that the pre-election season is also important in determining whether the elections are free and fair. And considering this violence that has broken out, can it really be concluded that heading into the elections that it is a free and fair environment for people to campaign?
As said by the national spokesperson of Zanu PF, anyone who is found on the wrong side of what the president and the party is preaching with regards to a violent-free campaign season will be brought to the disciplinary committee of the party. And we hope, therefore, that the party, the provincial leadership in the province in question will take it upon themselves to make sure that they investigate and get deep to find what exactly had transpired, to make sure that we have a free, fair, and credible election. As Zanu PF, we are very cognizant of the need for this particular election to be uncontested with regards to the results. And as a result, the president has been very unequivocal in terms of calling for each and everyone in the party and outside the party to campaign freely and ensure that we have a free campaign season that precedes the voting day. And also, he has also been very unequivocal when it comes to the need for a free period after the elections. So from our part, we hope that our people, our members, will heed this call by the president to make sure that we have a violent-free election, which will then lead to people concluding that it was credible. But however, I must hasten to say that it takes two to tangle. There are people in the opposition who might be coming up with a narrative of making sure that this election is discredited. And they are provoking people or coming up with these allegations so that a particular narrative is sent to their masters, who will then say that this particular election was discredited because of the violence that took place before the elections. So our appeal as Zanu PF is that the opposition members, CCC included, should desist from inciting other people to engage in violence and ensure that each and every rally that takes place is free from violence.
Yeah, and then another one, Kennedy, is on the ZEC, and I know that that Zanu PF wouldn't play a role here, but I guess as the governing party, is that the ZEC is saying that the applications for observers who want to observe the elections will be closed on the 18th of August. This is literally like 3 or 4 days before the elections take place. But aren't election observers supposed to be in the country even ahead of the elections to observe even the environment before the elections take place?
Well, what we are aware of is that ZEC has already invited observers to start registering. And we have equally seen the EU signing that they are coming to do their job in Zimbabwe. We have also had the president and the other functionaries saying that everyone who is intending to come and observe these elections is invited to come and do so, because we as the governing party, we have nothing that we would want to hide. Would want each and every individual to see how democracy in Zimbabwe pans out. And if there are areas that we need to correct thereafter, we can only do so at the behest of the recommendations that are made by those that would have observed our elections. So we think, therefore, that ZEC is within the parameters of the Electoral Act in everything that they are doing, and their invitation to the observers is also in conformity to the dictates of the Electoral Act.